Happy Sunday, everybody. Today is meal prep day. It should also be budget day, but because the month is over in 2 days, Charles wants to wait and do the budget on Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay, I had to pause because somebody just woke up. Say hi, everybody. Yay, they're drinking my soy milk. Okay, so I'm going to give you a list of the things I want to get accomplished today, and then we'll see what reality is. I am going to go on and make French dip tonight and just throw that in the crock pot, so that way I don't have to worry about dinner tonight, because I'm always tired after I do the meal prep part. And then the kids, I got out, the vegetarian ones, I got out some spaghetti sauce that I had in the freezer from last week's meal prep. And they are going to do spaghetti. So it'll be French dip or spaghetti, which are both 2-second meals now that it's in the crock pot. Alright, so I plan on making, boiling some potatoes so that I have them in the fridge ready to go for home fries, because we are huge home fry eaters here. I want to get some lentils in the pressure cooker because I want those to be done and ready. I also want to make some hummus so that we have hummus for dipping our veggies. And then I want to cut all of our veggies up and have them ready to go. I also plan on making zucchini bread, our homemade Lara bars, granola bars, pancakes, waffles, the raisin egg bread, some of our healthy granola type cookies, peanut butter balls, hey now, and biscuits with eggs and cheese. So that's what all I want to get accomplished today, but it is already 11:30, so what gets accomplished, we'll see. I always have big plans, you know. But yeah, okay, and here is Ash, look. Look at her, she's going to the doctor on Monday. I agree with one of you suggested that maybe it was a spider bite or something like that because of how the line is going up the vein. I showed you guys yesterday on her bruise. So I'm definitely ready for her to go to the doctor. They are going to the movies with their granny today to go see Dumbo, all the younger ones. So Katie will be here, probably be my helper. And Theo and Luke will be my helpers, I'm sure. Alright, let's get started. First, let's go on and throw in the French dip. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put a little oil in my pan, and then once that gets good and hot, I'm going to add my roast and brown it on both sides. And then I'm moving that over to my crock pot, and I'm going to add a packet of this au jus gravy mix and a packet of onion soup mix. And then I am going to add some water and cook this on low all day long. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is make the raisin egg bread because that has to rise throughout the day and I want to be able to have that done. So I'm going to start with that. Here is what you need for the dough. Okay, so I'm going to add in my flour. And my yeast. And then over on the stove, I'm going to heat up my milk. And butter. And sugar. I'm going to heat that until the butter is almost melted. Oh, and my salt. And in another pot, I'm going to get some boiling water going and put my raisins in it to help them plump up.
I'm just going to bring it to a boil and then turn it off.
Okay, so the raisin step is optional. It says if you want the plump, juicy raisins, then you boil the water and you soak them for about 5 minutes while you're doing other stuff. If you don't care that they're plump and, you know, big, then you don't have to do that part. You can omit that part. I think this would be great with raisins too, and a little orange zest put in it. I mean, you could so mix this up however you want, and it would be fabulous.
Okay, this looks just about right. The butter is almost melted, so now I'm going to add that to my flour and yeast mixture, along with 2 eggs. And then I'm going to mix it on low and scrape down the sides as I need to until it starts to get mixed up. And then I will turn it on high and mix it for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes is up, I add the hot raisins that I drained the water out and the rest of my flour. And then we're going to mix that until it starts to pull away from the bowl. And then I'm going to add 1 cup of oil and move around the dough so that it coats the dough and the bowl, and that helps keep it from sticking. Then I'm going to cover it and set it someplace to rise for an hour.
Okay, so we're going to be waiting for that to rise. So a couple things to help with the rising of the bread, if you're not familiar with bread making. One is, normally I would put it in my oven because then there's no drafts or anything like that. Or if you have a cabinet that's empty, somewhere that it can be all by itself without anything blowing on it or giving it any air. But if you cannot do that, another trick, and I will do it with mine if mine does not rise right, but putting the hot raisins in is kind of warm the bowl some. But there's 2 other tricks. One is to put your oven on the lowest setting and let it get to warm, and then after it's warm, you can put your dough in there and just leave it crack just a little until it's just warm. You don't want it like super warm, just a little bit warm, and put it like that. The other thing that you can do to help is use an old-fashioned heating pad. Plug it in, put it on low, and put your bread on top of the heating pad. Your whether it is your bowl or your pan once you let it rise for the second time, and that will also help it rise faster or rise at all if you are having cold temperatures like today. So not the ideal day. It is rainy, high of in the 50s. So I already have this ready to go because I'm most likely going to need to give my bread a little nudge. So I just wanted to give you those couple little tips real quick. And now that we are waiting on the bread to rise, I believe what I'm going to go on and do is make the granola bars. And this is a recipe that is a no bake. You pop it in the microwave. Should take like minutes to make. And I got it off Pinterest. I don't know if it's good or not. I will let you guys know what we think of it, but I will also leave the recipe.
Okay, I'm going to add my coconut oil. Almond butter. And honey. Then this is going to go into the microwave It only took mine about 30 seconds, but it could take a little longer. You're going to microwave it until it gets melted. Once it's all melted, you're going to add your oats, and chocolate chips. You don't want it to be too hot, the mixture, or your chocolate chips will melt. So you want it just warm. You're going to mix that all up together, and then you're going to put it in a dish. I lined mine with parchment paper and press it down. And then you're going to put it in the fridge to set up, and you will also need to store this in the fridge once it is done.
Okay, so next I'm gonna go on and do the peanut butter balls real quick. And I do have a recipe up for that already, but I will go on and make it for you again here. So these will get set up and then they'll go in the freezer. So I have the granola bars in the fridge, I have the bread rising, and then we'll get these in the fridge. Actually, I'm gonna put these in the freezer because that way they stay good and cold when I send them with the kids, and it works out better that way. Just help, because I typically send these with yogurt. So it just helps keep that whole lunchbox cold.
Okay, here you're going to start with a big spoon of peanut butter, then a little coconut sugar, powdered milk, and honey. I have been making these for years, you guys. I don't measure anything. If it's too sticky, then add a little more powdered milk. If it's too dry, add a little more honey or a little more peanut butter. You don't want it to be sticky and you don't want it to be dry. I also add a little bit of cinnamon to this. And then stir it up, and then I roll it into balls. I almost forgot the almond extract. Just a couple drops though. I'm going to put mine on a cookie sheet so that I can set it into the freezer. That was just a little more powdered milk. I want to put it in the freezer so that it will set up without turning into one big clump. So after it's frozen, then I will move them into a container and set them on top of each other.
So next, I'm gonna make our homemade Lara bars. I've been making these for years. They truly are fabulous and easy and healthy. So here's what you need.
I'm going to start with about 20 dates. You want to open them up and make sure you take out the pit from inside and the little cap on the top. Then I have probably a cup and a half of walnuts. Again, I don't measure. If it's too dry, you add a little water. If it's too wet, add some more nuts. Then some cocoa powder. And I would do anywhere between a half a cup to a cup, depending on how chocolatey you want it. And get that in your food processor, and I just pulse it until it is good and crumbly. And you can push on it, and it will kind of start to stick together. That's what you want. And then to bind it all, I just add a tiny bit of water, and then you will see it start to really clump. Then I take that and I dump it all into a lined parchment papered pan, press it down, and pop this in the freezer. But as a special treat, I added a few chocolate chips to the top.
Okay, so now I got all of that done. Those are in the freezer ready to go. I'm gonna take a break and eat some lunch because it is about 1 o'clock. And then I also though put, while I'm eating lunch real quick, some potatoes on to boil so that those will be done and can cool off and go in the fridge. And then we'll get back to it. So I just checked, you guys, and Our bread is looking gorgeous. It is really doubled in size beautifully. So it's time to punch this down and divide it into 2 balls. And then we're gonna let the balls rest for 10 minutes. Then we will divide those, each one into 3 balls, so that we can roll them out and make our braid. And then we set that on a pan, and that will rise again for another hour until that's doubled in size. Then we will bake it. It's an all-day process to make homemade bread, but it is very, very good. Let's get started.
So like I said, all I'm going to do is punch it down and divide it into 2 different balls. Let that rest for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to put it in 3 balls and roll them out just like you would a rope or a tube, and then braid it just like you do hair, and pinch the top and the bottom once you're done. And then I do the same with the other one. And then that needs to just be covered with a dish towel. I almost said paper towel. And let it rise until it is doubled. It takes about another hour.
Okay, so now that is rising again. So I'm gonna go on and move into the zucchini bread. Then I'll also just go on and get my stove warmed up, or my oven, and ready to go for the raisin bread to go in. Sorry, my brain is starting to get crazy. All right, let's start the zucchini bread.
The first thing that I'm going to do is grate a cup of zucchini. And then I'm going to squeeze out as much of the moisture as I can. I'm going to add the zest of 1 lemon. You only want the yellow part. You do not want to go into the white part. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to add that to my bowl, along with an egg and some vegetable oil. And I'm going to stir that up. And then I'm going to add my flour, and cinnamon, baking soda, salt, baking powder, nutmeg, and sugar. And then stir that up again. It is kind of a dry mixture. So I'm going to line my pan again with parchment paper, my loaf pan, and then I'm going to push that in so that it's nice and smooth, kind of like you would a meatloaf. And I'm adding some walnuts on top and popping it in the oven.
Okay, so with the rest of the zucchini, what I did was I went ahead and finished shredding it. And I'm going to throw that in their spaghetti sauce when I heat it up tonight. So they'll have some zucchini in their sauce, and that way that doesn't go to waste. And now that the zucchini bread is done, we're gonna go on and move on to making the hummus. So the oven is gonna be occupied for a little while, so I'm not gonna be able to get the cookies made that I wanna get made yet. So I'm gonna do the cut up of the veggies and make the hummus and the beans, because that's all stuff I can do without the oven. So I'm going to do that real quick and I'll show you guys how I make the hummus.
Let's start with 1 can of garbanzo beans or chickpeas. Rinse and drain. And then I'm going to add nutritional yeast, tahini, some salt, and pepper. I do not measure for this either. It is all by taste. 1 clove of garlic, the juice of a half of a lemon. I'm just making sure I get all the seeds out. A few slices of jalapeno. Some cumin. I have dried cilantro, but fresh cilantro is great in it too. And a little water. And then I'm going to blend that up, and that is it. It's fat-free hummus.
Okay, and here are my big beautiful Braid breads. They are ready to be popped into the oven. All right, so here it is. I pulled the Braid bread out. It's a little fatter this time because it rose a little different. And that's totally okay. It's still beautiful. I cooked it a hair bit longer than I would have liked to, but it cooked really fast today. So probably because just the oven was so hot. And the zucchini bread is out and looking lovely. I will make some icing to put over top of this bread as soon as it is done cooling a little bit. And there is my husband. Say hi, honey. Can you tell the friends what you're doing?
Prepping to get you a garden.
Prepping to get us a garden. Such a good boy.
Got the back corner almost completely cleaned out.
Yeah, he does.
Moved all the wood up here until I can get rid of it.
And he's burning some of it.
Burned off some of the older stuff.
Okay, so next we're gonna go on and make the biscuits. And I'm just going with my handy dandy trusty cookbook that I use all the time. So let's just whip these up real quick. Here's what you need.
I'm going to start off with your flour, baking powder, sugar, cream of tartar, salt, and stir that up good. And then you're going to cut in a stick of butter into little pieces. And then you're going to use the handy tool that I use to make the pie crust, and I do not know the name of this kitchen tool. It's just a cutter, what I remember as a kid. And you're going to cut in your butter. If somebody knows the name to that, please just share that with everybody. You can also use 2 forks if you do not have that. Then you're going to add your milk to the middle of the bowl and stir it. You don't want to overwork your dough at all, or your biscuits will not be flaky. Instead, they'll be tough. So work with it as little as possible. I did end up adding just a little bit more milk. And then flour your surface. I just did it on top of parchment paper and formed a little ball, rolled it out, used my grandmother's biscuit cutter and cut them out, set them on a cookie sheet, and pop them in the oven to bake.
Alright guys, so while the biscuits are baking, I'm going to go on and make the eggs. It is 3:30 now, but I'm going to go on and make the eggs. I'm not going to show you because I've shown you guys a couple times in the last few meal prep videos how I make the eggs up in a pan. But I want to get those in so that I can assemble the biscuits as soon as they are out of the oven. I'm getting brain crazy, I guess. My brain's not working so good. My house is smelling bomb, let me tell you. With the roast going, so you got the French dip cooking in the crock pot, along with the beans cooking in the pressure cooker, and then the bread baking and the biscuits baking. Fabulous smelling house. Everybody in the family that's home is going, oh, we're hungry. All right, so I will show you next after I make the eggs. Then we probably go on and move into pancakes or waffles. Okay, also real quick, we're gonna go on and make the icing. Just need a bowl, powdered sugar and milk. And I'm gonna make an icing real quick to put over top of the raisin braid bread. All right, and here are my perfectly imperfect biscuits. I'm just gonna brush them with a little bit of melted butter. And then pop them back in for just a second. Okay, now he's getting ready to eat some food. I'm gonna go on and start the pancakes. So I'll show you how I'll make those.
And again, we're gonna start with flour and sugar, some baking powder, salt. Stir that up good, set it aside, and then we're gonna add milk, melted butter, an egg that's been beaten, and mix all that up real good. Then we're gonna add that to our flour mixture and stir that up. I added a little bit more milk because I like mine to be a little thinner. And then you just make your pancakes. I like to top mine with a little bit of butter.
Okay, so next I'm going to go on and make the waffles. And as a special treat for the girls, I'm going to make chocolate waffles.
Okay, again, we're gonna start with some flour, sugar, some unsweetened cocoa powder, baking powder, salt. Stir that up and set it aside. Gonna add our eggs, and then the milk. I ran out of milk, so I had to use a little bit of half and half. And then some oil. And stir that all up. Add it to the flour mixture. And it's ready to go. I take my waffle iron and I spray it with a little bit of nonstick spray. put in my waffles and cook them till they're done.
So it is 5 o'clock, and I'm gonna go on and make dinner and finish up dinner. The kids all ended up going to eat with my mother. She took them to Frisch's and got them breakfast food and stuff like that. So I'm not doing the spaghetti tonight. It's just me and Charles, because Katie and Theo have been munching on all the food that I've been cooking, so they don't even want dinner. So that works out fine. But I don't have any French bread, and I planned on making it from scratch, but I'm pooped and I'm done. I didn't get to making the breakfast cookies either, the healthy cookies, but I got everything else on my list done. So I'm very proud of that. All but one thing, so I'm gonna finish this up, then get all this edited. It'll go up late tonight though, probably. But I'm using some hamburger buns. And I'm just going to put a little bit of butter on each one and pop them in the oven to kind of toast them up a little bit. And then over here, is the roast, looking gorgeous. And I'll pull that and shred it. And then I'll put it on top of the toasted sandwich with a slice of provolone cheese, and then I'll put it under the broiler for just a second. Just kind of melt the cheese up, and then they'll be ready to go. So I'll show you those as soon as they're done. And while I'm waiting on those to do, finish cooking, I'll go on and show you everything that I meal prepped today. Okay, so here we go. This is the spread of everything we made today. So here is the braid bread that we made, and I'll try and turn this loaf over. You can kind of see it in the inside. And this icing gets to be kind of hard on top as it sits out, so it doesn't just make a big mess. The granola bars that we made, and I just cut them up into kind of little bite-sized granola bars, like that. These need to be kept though in the fridge, because if the coconut oil gets warm, then they will get soggy and, you know, kind of get wet again. But they taste fabulous. We tried them. Here is our chocolate Lara bars, homemade Lara bars. And again, I just made them into little chunks. They taste like little brownie bites. They're fabulous. I keep these in the freezer. Boiled the potatoes, so we got them ready for the home fries. Chocolate waffles and pancakes. So that's enough for the girls to each have one or one. They don't eat a whole lot in the morning, especially before school, so that's all that they need. Our homemade biscuits and egg and cheese. We had one biscuit not make it, but Katie and the baby will chow on those. Lentils, I like to have those ready to go because I throw them on everything for the girls since they're vegetarian. I throw it on everything. Here is our zucchini bread. Our peanut butter balls. Yes, I reuse Cool Whip containers and things like that. They're perfect size containers. Our homemade hummus, which is fabulous. And the veggies are ready to go. So that is all of our meal prepping. All right, here are our little French dip mini sandwiches. I'm gonna have one, Charles I'm sure will have two. And that's it, you guys, for tonight. He'll probably have some chips or something with his. And I've been sampling stuff, so I'm good to go. I will see all of you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, everybody.